Welcome to Transformers, the podcast about how business people and policymakers are creating a sustainable future. I'm your host, Kai Embren.
Today's guest is Lena Miranda. She is the CEO of the Science Park in the city of Linköping in Sweden. Science Parks aims to increase the wealth of its community by promoting the culture of innovation and the competitiveness of its associated business and knowledge-based institutions. Lena is also chair of the Swedish Incubators and Science Parks and chair of the European division of International Association of Science Parks and Areas of Innovation. She is also a member of the National Innovation Council in Sweden. Welcome, Lena.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Great. So we met recently in the new social media platform, Clubhouse, the newest, busiest social media app around. Today, it has millions of users. Networking and capacity building is a key, and it seems to be a place to build your social capital. How can Clubhouse fit into your work, Lena?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think definitely that it can. I'm still curious about it and I'm trying to explore it. I was invited a few months ago by Michael Sillion and Bertola Bergstrand, who you had on your podcast recently.
Yes.
And since then, I've had a lot of interesting meetings and conversations taking place. And I feel like it's important to be where discussion about the future of society is taking place. At this moment, it is taking place at Clubhouse. So that's why I'm there. And it's amazing because it gathers people from all over the world, from different sectors with different experience and backgrounds. And we can meet on different topics and give different perspectives to one another. So I think it's really rewarding to be there and take place in those discussions.
Yeah. And bringing down barriers seems to be one of the values in Clubhouse. Is it something that you also have done in your work with the Science Park in Sweden?
Yes, I can relate to that. When I came to the Science Park in 2014, I started as the CEO of Linköping Science Park. It was already a very prosperous business community. But I think that me and my colleagues in the Science Park organization have added value by working on the social capital, bringing people together, arranging the unexpected meetings, challenging people to work across borders and exploring new things, and take down your own barriers, because as an individual, you're very good at putting up your own barriers. You need to challenge yourself. And we've done a lot of different events like hackathons and maker meetups and jams and other events where we can see that we can inject new inspiration into our community and break new frontiers.
This is sort of you going out of the box of traditional organizations.
Very much so, yes.
But let the listener know a little bit more. What is a science park?
Yeah, I think you did a really good description in the beginning of the program. And it's, as you said, we strive to increase the wealth of our community. As for us, Linköping Science Park is owned by the municipality of Linköping. So we're a city-based company. And our assignment is to support newly started businesses and growing businesses in the knowledge-intense community in Linköping. But a science park is often a neutral platform that gathers people, ideas, knowledge, and creativity. And it often constitutes of a platform for major innovation collaboration projects between the public sector, the academia, and the business community. And we facilitate those processes and try to drive development in different aspects. As you can hear, we have a lot of different stakeholders, but the basic funding is often comes from the public sector. But sometimes it comes also from the businesses and the surrounding community.
So what is the advantages that you have a municipality platform in the bottom?
I think it's good because that really strengthens the neutral platform that we strive to be. We don't need to make any profit. We are there to support all kinds of future development and try to increase the number of meetings, professional meetings, meetings where individuals can actually grow as humans and bring their gifts to the table, if I put it that way, and contribute to the wealth of the society as a large. So I think that the municipality often strives to offer good welfare services to its citizens, and we are part of that service by working with the business community, the academia, and combining it with the public sector and the needs of future society. So we can often meet the larger challenges and support new solutions together with the business community and the researchers and students.
And independency, are you independent from the municipality, and do you have the rights to take decisions, or what regulate your power?
Yeah, this is a very good question. Of course, I have a lot of policies that I need to follow. And as a publicly held company, of course, I have a lot of regulations that needs to be followed. But I also have a very big amount of independency, and that is, I think, built on trust. And a science park is quite a complex platform. As you can hear, we have a lot of different stakeholders, and we do a lot of different things. But we all the time try to think what is good for the city of Linköping, what is good for the region of East Sweden, and what is good for Sweden as a country, and how can we combine all those needs out there and put them into operative goals and execute to help strive to become more competitive, both as a society, but also when it comes to the business community. So yes, a big portion of independency, but of course we need to follow the laws and regulations, yes.
When we talk about independence, there's also a question of finance independency. You must maybe have a budget what to regulate your financing part of what you are doing.
Yeah, we have a basic funding that comes from the city of Linköping, but then we also have a lot of project funding that comes from the different national agencies like Vinnova and Tillväxtverket and other institutions, as well as the region of East Sweden. But that is a project-funded operation. So
okay.
The base organization is formed to be able to grow with the projects.
We can later in the program come into more of a details of the different project and see how this type of financing will work. You as a CEO of Linköping Science Park, right? Can you describe what it means to be a leader in a science park?
Yes, and I have an extremely broad platform. As I mentioned, there's a lot of stakeholders. And in my everyday work, I meet students, researchers, entrepreneurs, politicians, officials, innovators, and even citizens in some aspects. And people who carry ideas and want to contribute to develop the society is like the target group that we work with. It is an extremely outward-looking job, as you can hear. And it's about listening to broad perspectives, trying to see the patterns and forming different challenges that we can solve in collaboration by different actors. So it's a lot of also diversity and inclusiveness and building the social capital. And we can offer the collaboration platforms and turn ideas into solutions and new innovations. When at best, we contribute in developing not only businesses, but also develop individuals as well as society at large.
Yeah,
for someone like me, and that's a great privilege to have this broad platform to work from.
So when we look into the qualification to be a leader in such a diversity of issues and in the daily agenda and high number of stakeholders, what do you think? What is the qualification for to be a leader in such an organization?
It's a great question, and I've been thinking about that. But I think it's good to, in some ways, be a generalist and be curious about people, about future trends, about where society is on its way, where the society is on its way, about new technology, and in somehow try to take all of these different perspectives and see the red thread through it all, put it into context in some way. And I also have a great interest in technology, maybe not the algorithms, but specifically how technology impacts society, and also to contribute to a better society. So that are some aspects, and also maybe being able to communicate, because there's so many different target groups or groups that you want to involve and include. So you need to be able to maybe communicate and share knowledge to different people.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit more about that to get the listener to also to understand a little bit more about Sweden and the different types of innovation clusters around science parks in Sweden. So, who are they? Where do they come from? What is the collaboration between the different types of network you have around?
So it's really interesting. Like the science parks, it came like as an idea from the US in the 60s and established in Europe in the 80s and in Sweden in 1983, where Ideon Science Park in Lund was the first science park in Sweden. And since then, we have had a number of science parks growing around the country. Today, we have about 30 science parks. In the 90s, we got the incubators that were often funded by the universities. And we together formed the Swedish Incubators and Science Parks industry organization to facilitate peer learning between the science parks and the incubators, and how we can foster innovation and commercialization. In the 20th century, we got the national agencies of Vinnova, who is working on new innovation and supporting researchers, but also the Agency for Business and Regional Growth, Tillväxtverket, which supports growing companies and companies that need to go international and supporting them in digitalizations and so on. So those two actors have been really important to the innovation landscape in Sweden. And both of them are also facilitating different cluster programs, which is something that has happened during the 20th century, that we have got the Vimväxt program that was established in Sweden, and that some people say have been the role model for the smart specialization strategy that the European Union have operationalized during the last decade, you could say.
Well,
so we have a number of cluster organizations as well.
I understand that. It sounds to be a lot related to technology and innovation in this area, but do you also go into social innovations?
Yes, and there you have, for instance, Norrsken, which in Swedish is the Northern Light, which is one innovation hub that is actually private funded and that have social capital as its, or social impact innovation as its focus area. Also in Malmö, you have Malmö Social Summit, that is also an established arena for social entrepreneurs, which I think have been a growing number of entrepreneurs and companies during the last decade. So that is really amazing to follow.
Yeah. So how do you see Science Park's role in relation to this cluster or investors, academia and business and other stakeholders? How important it is?
Yeah, I think like it's of course it's the the ecosystem at large that makes it work as well as it does. The science parks roles are infrastructure over a long time. I mean, we've been existing since the 80s, as you can hear. So we're kind of an infrastructure for innovation and the link maybe between the university and the surrounding world when it comes to taking research into innovation, but also, of course, catching different business ideas that exists in existing businesses and taking them into innovation. So you could see like the universities, which have also innovation operations inside the universities, and then you come maybe to an incubator where you form the business idea and commercialize the idea into innovation. And then you could say that the science park is connecting you to the surrounding world. But of course, there are a lot of different actors in this innovation ecosystem. So you could say that we have different abilities that we bring to the table, or and different offers that we can help support the companies in different phases. The innovation ecosystems could look a bit different on a regional basis from region to region, but I think it's important to secure those abilities to give the best support to the entrepreneurs and the businesses.
So if we look into some project that you are involved in, and which are the most important success stories in science and technology parks for you?
I think one of the platforms that we've been working on for the last 6 years, it's called Swedish Scale-Ups. It's 10 incubators and science parks in the central East Sweden, from Uppsala to Örebro, Västerås, Eskilstuna, Norrköping, Linköping. And we formed a program for scale-ups for the growing companies to help support them in their different growing phases. And we've been working for the last 6 years, as I mentioned. And over this period, we learned a lot about what are the challenges when scaling your business, and what kinds of services do we need to establish in order to support. But we also learned a lot about the different policies and regulations in Sweden that can support business to scale in Sweden or might make them move abroad. So that has been one really great project where we also can see that it has had results in growing companies. Other projects is a lot about trying to accelerate the use of new technology. And if I should mention one that is really actual at the moment, it's a project that is called AI Sweden, and it's initiated by Vinnova and Lindholmen Science Park in Gothenburg. And it's actually a national enforcement to help organization and operations to accelerate the use of AI in Sweden at large. And at the moment, we are establishing different nodes geographically. So the science parks around Sweden are facilitators of those different nodes, and being the regional connection in trying to increase the number of partners in forming this national initiative. And I think we have done very well so far. And the colleagues that are running the initiative from Gothenburg have done a great job. And today we are more than 100 partners all over Sweden that have joined forces. And we have the vision to invest together, share with all, because we are such a small country in Sweden that we need to work together over the regional borders to accelerate our competence and to put AI into operational activities and help one another. So that is really interesting.
I've heard something about that every invested Swedish krona gives 6 kronor back. Is that something that you can see?
Yeah, well, that was one of the evaluations that were made by our incubator in Linköping Lead a few years ago, but they measure different things, of course. And I really asked them before we should have this conversation, what are the KPIs or the results that I could tell something about? And Lead has been operating since 2005. And up until last year, the total revenue of their entire portfolio of companies had reached almost 928 million Swedish crowns over the past 15 years. So it's almost a billion. And I was like, how should we celebrate when you reach the billion? And it has resulted in 681 new jobs during this period. And also they have been working, of course, in evaluating so many ideas, like almost 900 ideas over this period. So that is some numbers that we follow. And there are also KPIs and results being followed up by the Agency of Innovation, Vinnova, through the National Excellence Program for incubators, but I don't have those numbers. I'm sorry. But that is to give you a view on one specific incubator, and that is Lead in Linköping and Norrköping. Yes.
Yeah, well, you named before a little bit when we talked before the program about the health concept. That also is a story to tell. Can you give us a little bit more insight about that?
The health concept, yes. Well, of course, life science is one of the industries in Sweden that we are really focusing on, and there are a number of innovation hubs that are really great at this, like Uppsala and Umeå and Lund and so on. But in Linköping, we also have a few companies that really have made success. And to mention two of them, one of the first spin-outs from Linköping University was Sectra. And Sectra stands for Secure Transmission. And they started as a security company. But rather early, they also switched into medtech, and they started to develop MR, or they do like image processing with X-rays. So you can send your X-ray pictures over the internet. And they have had a fantastic journey. They have grown to more than 1 billion in total revenue over the last decades organically, which is quite unique in Sweden after the Second World War. So this is a really one success story. But we also have an existing startup called Amra that actually tries to challenge the concept of the BMI index by doing MR scanning of the body fat. And in the future, because they are collecting a lot of data, actually working with some hospitals in London, where you are based, Kai, and try to gather the data. So in the future, they will also, based on your existing body fat and composition, also be able to recommend individual nutrition advice. So that is an amazing company, and they have really a great future ahead of them. Though at these times of pandemic, as we know, the healthcare system have been quite overloaded, and so a lot of clinical tests have been delayed and postponed into the future. So at the moment, a lot of life science companies, not only in Sweden but in Europe, faces quite a challenging time.
Yeah, well, that's a part of the effects from the pandemic, and we're going to see a lot of this effect also the time to come. But it is some lights in the tunnel, as we can see just now when we do this interview, that things is on the way to change. But we have been going in a discussion about into different part of Sweden, and it seems that you have a foot in everywhere in Sweden.
I try to learn.
At least you have some connection, and understand that it's also based on very much of collaboration, both between in the geographical thinking, but also in sectors in the society. And as I know, you are also from 2019, you are a part of the Swedish Innovation Council, which is run by the Swedish Prime Minister, Stefan Löfven. And what's your role there?
Well, the Prime Minister have put together an innovation council existing of different experts from a number of sectors like industry, life science, academia, venture capitalists, and the union. And me, I got to represent the Swedish innovation system with my knowledge and experience from working together with different, both the science parks and incubators, but also clusters and regional organization of different characters. So I'm trying to contribute with my knowledge about how local and regional and national innovation ecosystem works, and how they can contribute to the greater goal, which is to actually increase innovation everywhere in Sweden. It's not something that just happens in the big cities or in the larger companies. We strive to make it happen everywhere, and we can see that it does. So we want to support this development in the best way possible.
If we look at the cross-border, which is normally when we talk about different sectors, but if we look at the geographic thing and geographic areas, and how do you see the relationship with other countries and Sweden's role in the field of innovation? Can you get a feeling that Sweden is in the front, or do we have a lot of things to learn from others?
I would say yes to both your questions. Yes, we are definitely in the forefront in some perspectives, and that is very much built on our culture, I would say, with a high level of trust, our ability to collaborate. We have a high level of education and research. We have great corporates that have gone global in an early stage, and a great number of also startups that have had success in the recent years. We have great values like equality and a great welfare system and so on. So there's a lot of things that make Sweden very prosperous as an innovation nation. We are also the country that is most secular in the world, which makes us a very good test market for new products and solutions in different ways. So that is some of the things that is really great for us as a nation. But of course, there is a lot of things that we can learn from other parts of the world in how they do things. Like, I was very inspired yesterday as we went on Clubhouse and had a learning society with Bertula Bergstrand, and listening to Pakistan and how they try to leapfrog the education level in the country, like trying to use digitalization as a way to inform and make broader awareness among the citizens in different questions and ways of learning. So I was really inspired by that. That was fascinating. Also, there are a lot of different countries, like how Taiwan has been working with digitalization and including the citizens in a broader perspective. And also something that I took with me from yesterday's discussion was also how by building parallel organization, you can challenge the existing structures. And maybe at sometimes that is necessary for you to develop from being an existing structure. I thought that was really interesting.
I think that we should, when we look into the clubhouse discussion, we also some weeks ago, we met MIT professor Otto Scharman who talked about the age of disruptions and that is a need of system change or from ecosystem to ecosystem. Are Science Park a part of the new model, working from a perspective of system thinking and leadership where sustainability is on the top of the agenda?
Yes, I would very much say so. And we are very dynamic and agile as organizations. And that is because we need to have the ability to run a bit quicker than the more structured organizations. So I think we have sustainability and green development very high on the agenda. We also have social capital very high on the agenda. So we're working hard to try to raise the level of connectedness. And sometimes I call us like professional deal makers, because we see the system level in many aspects, and we can connect individuals but also organizations, not only on our local arenas but regionally, nationally, internationally. So it's taking matchmaking one person to another, but also one ecosystem to another ecosystem. So that is when it gets really interesting. I see that the use of new technology can really contribute in making our society more sustainable in both economic terms as well as ecological and social terms. For instance, the use of Internet of Things applications have lowered carbon emissions by 15% on a global scale. Imagine what AI can do as a next step. And look at the field of life science and digital pathology as one example. With digitalization, we can have the chance to send X-rays across nations, having the best experts and doctors viewing those X-rays, and by that giving the patients the best healthcare possible, no matter where they live.
So that's a little bit of a science into the future, Lena, and
yes.
And to help also Sweden's national goal to be the first nation to come to net zero emissions.
Yes, the first. Yes, exactly. The first fossil-free welfare state in the world.
Thank you. That will be the last word from Lena today. And thank you for your contribution today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kai, and have a great day.
I'm Kai Embren. Follow me on Twitter and LinkedIn, where I will be announcing the future guests to this podcast. And you can expect about 2 programs a month, and each guest has a unique story of making business and society sustainable. So find out more, visit my homepage kaiembren.org. Thank you for listening.